Amanda, what's up, girl?
Just getting back to real life and working after a very relaxing Thanksgiving.
Yeah, it was lovely.
Yeah, it
All
was nice.
and how far away are you now from having your baby?
Let's see. So I'm at 33 weeks and 3 days.
Wow.
So
Okay.
close, but also feels still very far.
Does it? Does it? Are you still you're running right now, right? From your social, like I saw you running recently.
Yeah, I,
Yeah.
I do run. It is not very pleasant, I'll be honest.
Girl, I
But I'm
can't
just trying
imagine.
to I'm trying to just like do what I can to stay fit enough that it's not terrible to start running again after.
Yeah. No, I love that. I mean, honestly, I can't even running with my period boobs are hard enough. I can't imagine running with like
Yeah.
a baby.
Oh, and both. It's like imagine
Oh,
the
right.
period
Yeah.
boobs plus this giant belly.
It's so crazy. One of
Yeah.
my very best friend, Carrie Walsh Jennings, I'll never forget. I mean, she has three babies and, all the way, I feel like it was like 3 weeks prior to having her daughter, she was still getting after it. I mean, for sure, she adjusts, but she was doing, her Pilates in the sand workout. And I love this idea that she shared with me, but it was along the lines of like, when you're going to have a baby, you want to be as strong as you possibly can. It's like you're preparing your body almost for war, like battle in a way, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that how you're feeling about it?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely been harder than I thought it would be. So, I mean, I went into it super fit, like probably the fittest I'd ever been.
Yeah.
And then, the pandemic happened, so racing, because I was preparing for a big race, and then the race got canceled, but I was super fit, and so I thought like getting pregnant so close to that, oh, this will be fine, like won't be too hard. I should be able to maintain like some pretty good mileage or whatever. And it's definitely not been easy. It's been pretty tough.
I mean, I
So I
can't
don't think it really
imagine.
matters.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
and it's also like aside from the physicality aspect of it, you're dealing with hormones and, waking up tired. I mean, every woman's experience being pregnant is obviously so different. Some women are just like breezing by and then others are like throwing up every day and just exhausted. So I can't imagine just having to navigate that and then also keeping your body strong and it's the best. I feel like it is the best thing to be doing, not only for you're going into battle and you're having a baby, but also for when your baby's here, like the bounce back, the return, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I'm so thankful like Justin's been uh very good and nice and supportive the whole time, but I don't know how he's dealt with the mood swings and me whining all the time. And I just feel like such a complainer. Every day there's something, I swear. Like once one thing goes away, another one comes. So like first trimester, I had really bad nausea, and
Mm.
then that kind of went away, but I couldn't sleep, so I had really bad insomnia. And then
Oh,
after all that went away, I got really bad sciatica. It was like so many things. I'm basically just checking off every possible thing that can happen while you're pregnant.
oh,
So it should be like life and running should feel extremely easy after this. That's kind of how I'm trying to look at it.
you know what? I love that so much because there's a quote that I want to read to you, and I would love for you to expand on it. It's like the perfect segue into that quote. So, you had said that running is a weird sport. It can feel effortless and inspiring one day and miserable the next. That's why I think it's so fitting for life. You just need to keep moving forward. Some days will feel tough, but more days will leave you feeling on top of the world. I love that. It deeply resonates with me. And I would just love for you to riff off that and expand off that. When you think about 2020 alone, like this year, the navigation of challenges that people are having to endure is gnarly. So I think that expanding that beautiful wisdom that you shared would be of real value to everybody listening and watching.
Yeah, I mean, running to me has always been like the perfect parallel of life. I started it kind of during, well, when I was kind of in the middle of an eating disorder.
Mhm.
And it helped me work my way through that. And ever since then, it's helped me work my way through every problem. You can go on a run and just like get the mental clarity that you want and or need, and think through all of the other things you have going on, and realize that like no matter what, if you just keep going, things end up getting better, even if you feel like they're so terrible at the time that there's just it feels hopeless sometimes. It's really easy to just feel really hopeless, but if you just keep moving forward, you'll end up feeling better. And specifically with ultras, like that's exactly how it is. It's like living life in 24 hours where you just feel so great at the start, and then like you're running well and enjoying the moment, and then you hit such a low that you just don't know if you can keep going. And you always can. That's where like the mental challenge comes in. And if you do just keep going, even if it's a slog, like as slow as you've ever gone in your life, like you'll come out of it, and then things will be better, and you'll get back to that place where you first started, and it just keeps going like a roller coaster.
I love that so much. It brings me to think about sometimes when I'm on my beach runs, like my 10K sand runs, there are times where, I'll just hit a real tired moment in the middle of the run, and I'll literally tell myself, "Hey, you can slow down. You can like be easy on yourself. But I just want you to keep going. Like even if it's just super slow, like just keep going." And to be able to adjust like that, and then I'll finish, like I'll keep going, right? And then maybe towards the end I'll speed back up or whatever, but like that adjustment piece in the middle of the process, I think is such a powerful transferable skill, because in life we have to have that agility, right? To be able to maneuver with the external and then also the internal. Like there's some days where you like maybe got to be more gentle with yourself, and there's some days where you got to push yourself. And so do you feel like that is something that has been super fortified in your racing and running career?
Yeah, for sure. I think having that exact attitude is what gets you is what always keeps you going, and you end up doing a lot better than you'd expect. But if you just give up and quit, then I mean you already know the answer to that. Like you're quitting, it's over.
Right.
But I've had so many times where um, I'll just realize like, okay, maybe performance is out the window, and I just need to focus on getting to the finish line. And then you go through that lull, and as long as that will relax me, and I'll keep moving, and then eventually I'll come out of it like I said, and feel better again. And then sometimes that means I come back and start really performing well and still end up on the podium or something.
Yeah.
And that's how it is with life too. Like if you just give up and sit there, then that's your answer. Like
Mhm.
that's all that's happening. But if you keep going, you're going to have a better outcome than just sitting there and giving up. So you might as well try it.
Yeah, exactly. No, like the end of your statement when you said, but more days will leave you feeling on top of the world. I feel like that, when you work through those moments, you feel greater success, right? Like you reach more success. It's almost like, and I do, this is why I view challenges as opportunities, because I always say like there's no handouts to badassery. Like if you want
Yeah.
to, you know what I mean? Like you got to earn it. And how do you earn it? Well, you earn it by going towards the challenge and like moving through the challenge. Um, and that makes me think about what you had said in the beginning, where you said that you really started running when you were battling an eating disorder, right? And
Yeah.
I would love to talk about that a bit, because I mean, essentially it's like running healed you, right? It was very medicinal. And I think it would be really valuable to just go back there for a moment and just expand on how that took place for you in your life. Because I'll say this before, um, I know that when I'm having a hard day and I turn to sport, anything physical, lifting weights, running, or like it shifts me, in the right direction, the direction I want to be on. So yeah, I'd love to hear about that moment for you.
Yeah, I think that, you can get very caught up in everything going on in life. And that changes over time you, as you're at different ages. So what I thought was a lot going on in life at 17 is like nothing now, but at the time it was. And it's just easy to get caught up in that and not be able to slow down and think through things. And running became like the one time of day where during my run, it was like nothing else existed. It just shut my mind off. I enjoyed every second of it because it was just quiet. Like when I'm sure a lot of people like who have had eating disorders or any sort of something similar, like going through a problem, it's like it's so hard to just stop thinking about it.
Yeah.
And to just relax and like just let yourself just relax.
Yeah.
And all of my runs, it was like the best part of the day, and I could just totally relax, be in the moment and feel like myself again. And that gave me the ability to think through things and realize that, what actually mattered and what didn't really matter.
Yeah.
And what I thought was, something that was a hard problem to get through really wasn't that bad because I could finally just chill out and think about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like a moving meditation, right? It helps you just to get more clarity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, it's not that, I ran and that just solves all the problems. Like you still have to solve the problems yourself, but it at least lets you get to the point where you're able to do that.
And how long was that period from the time that you started running and you were battling that to the time that you really recovered from it, if you're fully recovered from it?
Yeah, I would say that I am. It's a really long process. And I think, because there's like the physical and mental part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And the mental part, for me, it took a really long time to be 100% recovered from it.
Yeah.
So probably it had started like my freshman year of high school. So I was 15.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started running and really like starting the recovery process when I was about 17.
Mm-hmm.
And it went up and down both like from the physical part of it and the mental part of it through college, I would say.
Yeah.
But it was getting better. So it was like the running was really helping me, and my good days were becoming more often than my bad days.
Mm.
But it's almost like an addict. Like you have times where you relapse and then you don't be too hard on yourself and you keep moving forward and it's okay. And that was over. And then things get better and the relapsing happens less often. And then I'd say the mental part of it, although it was getting better, probably lasted until I was about 25, 26.
Yeah.
But now it's like, you have to so it's exactly like the running in life comparison where you just keep moving forward and working one step at a time. And then before you know it, 10 years later, it's all good. Like everything's great and going in a perfect direction. Yeah. But if you think of it, and this is just like an ultra too, like if you look at it and like, this is going to take me 10 years to recover from, then that's so overwhelming and seems like you're never going to get there. And that, like when you approach an ultra or any sort of race, if you think of it, I have to run 100 miles. I'm going to be out here. I've ran 5 so far. Like I have 95 more miles to go. It's so overwhelming. And it just like builds up all this stress and these thoughts that really tear you down instead of breaking it up. And so I think with eating problems and with really any other problem I've had, I break it up just like running, like just working one step at a time and moving forward constantly. And if there's a little bit of a setback, it's okay. Like that happens and you just keep moving forward another step and eventually you get to where you want to be.
Well, so that last piece you just said, I have to tease that apart because it's so valuable. So in so many different areas, I have found that people really get tripped up when they trip up, So let's just
Yeah.
like use diet as an example. When they feel like right now, even as a perfect example, we just had Thanksgiving and like, I know people who are like, oh, I was so in my game and I was in it. And then bleh, Thanksgiving happens, holidays. And then, they indulge and do whatever. And then they feel the feelings. And then, it's like a little demoralizing, right? And then that little demoralizing becomes a lot more resistance. And then the guilt. And now all of a sudden you're so far away from like being in your process and continuing forward and hitting your goals. It's like, it creates such a setback, whereas like what you just said, it's okay. You keep going. It's like you're applying this self-compassion really to allow yourself, the ability to, move kind of in and out, but just keep moving forward. So it's not necessarily like this linear process as much as it's like, hey, it's almost like, did you know as you were, in this process of like healing yourself and then advancing yourself through your running, what started to become a running career, did you kind of have this mindset already? Like, I know this isn't going to be perfect and this isn't going to be easy. And I'm going to allow myself the space to mess up at times or whatever. But like, was there any thought process like that? Or was it just like when it came around, you just kind of accepted it and kept moving?
I'd say it's definitely been a learning process. Like I'm naturally just have always had that kind of personality,
Mhm.
but still it's not like I'm totally fine with just messing up whenever and then, life's all good. I'll just keep moving forward and everything's rainbows.
Yeah.
Like it's not always like that.
No.
So it's definitely been a learning process and um gets easier to think that way the more the more that life goes on, the more experiences that I have to practice all of this.
Mhm.
Um, I think, running became like my coping mechanism to be able to, like I said before, like think through these things and realize that everything's okay.
Mhm.
Um, and so then, I mean, now it's like pregnancy is really testing me because I can't run as much. You really have to like deal with your emotions.
Mhm.
And so I think that it's been really beneficial for me to like live life the way that I have thinking, thinking like that and working through problems because now I don't need the running to do
Mhm.
that.
Right. Right. You've
Yeah.
transferred that skill over into your life, period. And then, in this exact moment where you're making a baby and this is a process, it's like
Yeah.
you have to have endurance for the process. You have to have the resiliency. You have to have the strength and all of that you have developed and fortified through ultra racing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Through lots and lots of running.
For lots of well, let's like I'm so curious because, so when I say 10K, that's like, oh, how cute when we're talking about, 50 to 100-mile races. But for me, I think the most I've ever ran in one go it was 9 miles. And that was a win. That felt really good. I don't even I wasn't trying to, I've never had like, oh, I want to run marathons or anything like that. It was just I got in this phase where I was like, I just want to keep going. And so the thought of actually running 50 to 100 mile races, and you're in the mountains, like it's just so gnarly. So I would just love to kind of go into your very first ultra moment and what that was like for you. How long was it before you started running to the time that you hit your first ultra race, and how did you finish? What did that feel like?
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, I think it is all relative. Like I know you hear people say that, but it totally is. And so I never want like I coach lots of people who are pretty new to running and I never want people to think, well, I don't run 100 miles like you. So that's, what I do doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Because it does matter. It's all just compared to yourself. Like if you went from running nothing and you now run 5 miles a day, like that's amazing. That's a lot.
truly. Yeah.
Yeah, and it keeps progressing and as you realize what you can do and create new goals and everything.
Mhm.
But when I started running, so actually I ran track in middle school, but it was really because I was just very social. I wanted to hang out with my friends as much as possible. So I played as many sports as possible. And I grew up in this tiny town that was super boring. So if you didn't play sports, I mean, what else are you going to do?
Right.
So I would try to do like the shortest events running because I didn't really care about it at that point. I mean, how old are you when you're in seventh grade?
12. Yeah.
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 I was like, I just want to hang out with my friends,
Yeah.
be outside. This is nice.
Mm-hmm.
So I did a lot of like field events and really short sprints, like 100 meters. And I always thought like I would see the distance runners running in circles around the track. And this is like, 5K, or even in high school, it's like 1,500 meters.
Mm-hmm.
So a few laps.
Yeah.
And I'd always think like, why would they want to do this? This has got to be so boring. Like just go fast and short and you're done and that's it. And then it just progressed, and my coaches made me do some longer stuff because I was like naturally kind of good at it.
Yeah.
So I would do like the 4x4 and whatever they told me to do, I would do it. I'd be like, really, do I really have to do this? I just want to hang out with my friends. But I would do it anyways. And then I'd be like, dang it, because then they'd make me do it again. And it just got longer, and I tried hurdles, and then I tried I did the 400 solo and the 4x4 relay. And then when I got to my senior year, right before my senior year started, I started running on my own, just like a couple of miles from my parents' house. And so then that became competing in the 1,500 and the 3,000. And to me, that was really long. I mean, it is long because you're going pretty fast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, but then did that in college for a couple of years. And once I stopped running on the team in college, basically, I mean, what do you do as an adult? You put on some shoes and you just run longer. So started running a little bit longer every day, ended up doing some half marathons, did a marathon. And it became like this really cool thing where, like you said, I wanted to see how far I could go. Like I've already gotten from the 100-meter sprint to a full marathon. Like what else can I do? And so once I discovered the trails, then it was like, this is amazing. I don't care how, like, I want to be out here as long as possible. Don't even care how fast it is. I just want to be out here and like, see what I can get to on my feet. And so that became a 50K, which became a 50 miler, which became 100K, and then 100 miles.
So incredible. And I imagine a nicer transition on your body too. Cause like I don't like running the cement at all. So I run in the sand, I run barefoot, and I love that for so many reasons. It's so healthy for you, negative charge from the earth, the whole thing. But I do run track. I'll do track workouts with my brother leads a track workout for us. And then sometimes I will do sprints up this hill on my block. So there is some cement. But when I did the 9 miles and that was all on pavement. And it just like now that 99% of my running is on the sand, I can't even, it's just so gnarly. So that transition for your body must have felt good, even though you're, doing 50 to 100 miles. But the difference between pavement and up in the mountains, yeah, big difference.
Oh, yeah, it's huge.
Yeah.
It's a crazy difference. The road marathon beats me up, and might say most people up, way more than a trail 50 miler.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, you're going twice the distance. It's
right.
With a ton of vertical gain, whereas like a lot of the road races are flat or
right.
relatively flat, and 50 milers can have 10,000 feet of vert,
right.
and you feel pretty great after compared to like a road marathon at 6-minute miles on pavement.
So crazy. Wait, hold on. So what about that first 100-mile race? Like, how was that for you when you crossed the finish line? Did you place, or like, what was that like? I want to envision it.
So my first attempt, I actually didn't finish.
Okay.
I got to 70 miles. that was one of those moments where I just couldn't get past my negative thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And so it became quitting, and then realizing that the quitting was way worse than if I had been out there for another 20 hours, and didn't want to do that again. So my next one was really good. I just was a lot easier on myself and ended up placing fourth, and it was at the Western States 100, which is kind of like the Super Bowl of ultra running in the States.
Yeah, that's amazing. So you must
Yeah.
have felt really good and proud and all the things.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Finishing there was amazing. And, you know, there were a lot of ups and downs, but the finish, like once you get to the finish of a 100-miler, no matter where you've finished, it's so satisfying. Like, and you just feel so badass. Like, I just ran 100 miles through the mountains.
Through the mountains. I mean, you're literally like, have you ever ran into an animal or something? That's like,
yeah. Yeah.
Right?
In a couple races actually too, but a few times in training, like a bear, lots of deer, bobcats, that sort of thing. I have never seen a mountain lion, thankfully.
Yeah.
I'd like to go through life without seeing a mountain lion.
I just saw a picture of a mountain lion on Instagram that my brother posted yesterday. It was so, and it was like in this, like, I'm going to pounce on you stance. Looks so gnarly. Those things are like ripped.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine being on a trail and then that thing pops up. I mean, they're so beautiful, but no, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, they are very pretty, but I'd like to, you know, just maybe see it from my car or something.
Yeah, exactly. Or on my phone. Exactly.
Yeah. I ran into a couple during races. One, I got charged by a big cow with horns.
No way.
Somewhere in Italy during a stage race.
Wow.
That was freaky because it actually was like, it had a baby with it, and I think it was just very protective.
Yeah.
And then the CCC 100K in France, I had about 7 miles left, and I was on this really steep trail, like just drop off single track, and this ibex, which is like kind of a big mountain goat with huge horns, but huge mountain goat, like the size of a small horse.
Wow.
Yeah, with giant horns. And that thing kind of like charged me twice, and then finally ran off the trail.
What did you do? Like, what do you do? You probably, I can't even imagine like where you are psychologically, hormonally, like after running that long, physically. And then now this, I mean, I'm sure your fight or flight kicks in, but like, how are you managing that?
That definitely kicks in, but it's also like you get to a point where things just don't bother you the way they would if you were fresh. So I was like just so out of it and just wanted to get past this ibex. I'm like, I just want to finish. Like, you need to move. So I tried to get past it, and just with like,
you're really like, oh hell no.
Yeah. Mike, you are in my way. I'm trying to run here. Please move. But luckily we had some guy who was running behind me had poles, like trekking poles. He kind of put it out in front and scared it off finally. And then
cool.
Off. Yeah.
That's amazing. Oh my goodness, girl. So many, I mean, what a rich life, because I'm glad that you brought that up, like France and Italy, because you're literally traveling around the world and running, you know, in these beautiful places. I mean, you just get to experience so much more of our world's geography. That's incredible.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy to think about too. Like, I grew up in a really tiny town, and not that I had this like awful life by any means. My parents are so great, and I would consider that I had a great childhood. But we weren't like rolling high, you know?
Yeah.
So, and I never, like, they would take us to a lot of places, but we didn't really travel outside of the country. I don't think I think once we did, but then once I got out as an adult, it was just like, you know, working hard to get through college and like, you know, barely survive those years financially and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And not really doing a whole lot as far as like traveling and enjoying life and seeing the world and that sort of thing. And so I don't even know how, like if I think about it, it's crazy that this all even happens now. Like that's what I do, is travel around the world basically with my friends, because ultra running is like a pretty small niche sport.
Mm-hmm.
And we all kind of travel around and get to run and see these beautiful places that if you don't run to them, you're not going to see them. Like you just never are. And it's pretty awesome.
Oh yeah. I mean, when I travel, I feel like one of the greatest ways to explore the place that I'm in is just to go on a run, and like even, I mean, get lost. Obviously, you have a phone and there's ways to find your way, but like just more in the exploratory aspect of like allowing yourself to turn down that street and then turn down this street. And then you discover all these rad little, it's beautiful things about the place that you're visiting. Like one of my favorite cities in the world, period, and places to do this is Barcelona. It's so fun to just run through the streets of Barcelona, especially because like the architecture and the way the streets are set up, pavement, but still so amazing. So yeah, that's really special that running has. I mean, it feels like in so many ways, it's just been the gift that keeps on giving to you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Like let's see, it was 2019. So August 2019, I just decided, I had some crappy life things going on and had a race coming up in France. And so I just decided I'm going to go spend a month in France, and I'm just going to run and enjoy the food and the people. And I went over there by myself, rented an apartment for a month, and all I did was sleep, train, eat, train some more, eat some more,
I love
sleep some
that.
more. It
So
was
cool.
so wonderful. It was like going on my own little solo retreat, and it's just so refreshing. Like
What part of France?
Chamonix.
That's the south?
Um, I don't know for sure,
I don't know either. I lived in
but so
Paris, and
oh, cool.
yeah, for a little while I went to a makeup academy out there, and then I've spent some time as well in the south of France,
Oh,
and
sweet.
yeah,
Yeah.
Biarritz. I love Biarritz, but yeah, there's so much to the country, right? It's so beautiful.
Yeah, when you can get so this race, the 100 miler, I did the 100K. I've done the 100 miler though, but it goes around Mont Blanc, and so you go through France, Switzerland, and Italy during the race.
So cool.
It's insane. It's
So
so cool.
cool.
Yeah.
What an amazing experience. I'm curious, you said August 2019. I know you had family tragedy. Was that during that period?
So my brother had passed away 1 year before that.
Okay.
And it was like 1 year on the day.
Mm.
And so I ran that race 1 year later. And for anyone who's like lost a family member or a loved one, like the grief lasts, I mean, it lasts a while.
Yeah.
And sometimes you might think you're okay, and then you see a picture or like hear their name or something and you just start bawling.
Can't
And so I
imagine.
thought, I didn't think, I didn't think much about how running that race 1 year later would be like emotionally.
Mhm.
And it was a pretty emotional weekend. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think those kinds of things actually like help me get through ultras, because the hard times seem like they're not really that hard, because you're thinking about this other thing that was obviously like so much worse.
Yeah.
And it makes everything else just seem like whatever. I'm not
Right.
even going to waste my efforts like being stressed out about that.
Yeah. No, totally. I mean, I can't even imagine. That's like literally I'm so close to my family. I have 3 brothers and a sister, and it's like they're my kryptonite, you know what I mean? So I can't imagine that grief. And grief is such an interesting emotion. And I know people who have lost family members, like close friends. And I mean, I've lost close friends. And the process of moving through grief is, like you said, it really is, it's a process, and it takes so much time. And I feel like from what you shared, I mean, running obviously was, again, like showed up in a very medicinal, therapeutic way for you to navigate through that. Yeah.
Yeah. So my brother had lived with me, or he was living with me. We were really close, and got even closer, obviously, when he was living with me to try to stay clean. And he had dropped me off the day that it happened. He had dropped me off at the airport, and well, I guess I didn't explain how he passed away.
No. Yeah.
So he had been struggling with like hard drugs for about 10 years, and he was only 25.
Mm.
So just his whole like teenage years and like young life was just this constant struggle. And he was really trying to stay clean. He was doing really well, but you know, when you relapse as a drug addict, it's much more serious. You don't always get another chance, you know?
Right. Yeah.
And so he was trying to stay clean. He was living with me. He had dropped me off at the airport that morning to go to the Transalpine stage race, which is in Germany, and it's 7 days. And I wanted him to come, but he didn't have a passport and he couldn't get one because of, I think, some legal stuff. Because I had brought him to a race that I went to a couple weeks before, so that he could just be with me and neither of us had to worry about him being like on his own.
Yeah.
And he loved it. He was like, after that, like the people were so great. Just so nice to him, like out of that world of just bad influences.
Mm-hmm.
And he was so excited. Like he started talking about running and getting involved in races and doing all these things, and he loved it. And I really wanted him to come to Transalpine, but he just couldn't because he didn't have a passport.
Yeah.
So we had these plans of like people being at the house with him and all this stuff. But that morning he dropped me off, and while I was sitting in an airport waiting during a layover, and I think it was only maybe 7 to 8 hours later, I got a call from the cops being at my house, and they told me that he overdosed. And they didn't know yet, like right in that first moment, what was going on. They had to see. And then they told me like that he had passed away. And it was so, I've lost a couple family members, not a lot, but like grandparents.
Yeah.
And it definitely was not the same. And, you know, I think it felt like it was out of nowhere. And he was so young. He was only 25.
Yeah.
And he wasn't one of those like addicts that get real, like sometimes people when they're on drugs, I've been around people who get very mean and feel very attacked all the time. And he wasn't like that. It was so sad. It was like he was trying to just cope. It was his way of coping with things in life.
Yeah.
And he was such like a great, nice person and so helpful and loving and everything. And so it was just, I was in shock. Like when I got that call from the cops, and I was standing in line to board a plane to Germany to get on a 10-hour flight. Ugh. And I didn't know what to do. So I called my parents. I had like 2 minutes to call my parents, told them, got on a 10-hour flight and just bawled the entire time, the whole 10 hours. Like the flight attendants were asking if I was okay and all this stuff. And I didn't know if I was going to just turn around and go back home. But I had talked to my mom, and she said, you know, you need to just do whatever is going to make you feel better.
Yeah.
And I wasn't totally sure, you know, in that moment, like what would. But I felt like going home and sitting in my room crying by myself wasn't really the best answer.
Right.
So I actually stayed and ran the race 5 days later after. I mean, I was up all night crying every day. I don't think I slept So the first, like I hadn't slept for 5 days straight. And so the first 3 days of the race was just like a total zombie. And I don't remember it. Like I'll see photos and I don't even remember any part of it. Um, but I think like by day 3, I was finally so tired. I slept and could think about things. And I think it really helped me to stay there and to run the race and be in that environment and be able to like process things in a healthier way than just going home and sitting in the corner crying by myself. And I don't think that that's necessarily the case like for everyone. I think when you lose someone that everyone handles it in their own way and some things are going to be better for other people, and for me that was like a healthy way of processing it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I feel like at that point you had already established a relationship with running that was very medicinal. It was very therapeutic. I mean, if you think about like just moving through the eating disorder and just that that was the connection it feels like, right? So it makes sense that, because that had to have been a hard decision. Like, do I get on the plane? Do I go? But I can see how that ultimately was, you were kind of beelining to the safest place that you could be to process your emotions. And it was running. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And had my parents said, my parents are so great. And had they said, we need you to come home,
Yeah.
I would have went home in a second.
Right.
But of course, like they've always been like, you do you, like my whole
Yeah.
life, like you've got to do the things that are going to make you happy and help you be the person that you want to be, basically, is just how they've always been with everything. And that was basically how what my mom was saying then was just like, however you need to process it. And how is she saying, like I was also thinking like, how are you calmly like thinking this through when like I can't even imagine, like it's my brother, but it's her son.
I
Like
know.
it just be just so terrible. I don't know, but they're great parents. So
Well, yeah, and I mean, I don't know either, but I imagine that, your health psychologically, like on every level, um was so important to your parents. And in that moment, it was like, well, wait, hold on, we need to make sure that she's okay. And also I wonder if, because your brother had been battling this for a decade and there were, issues prior, I wonder if there was this almost like a, yes, it was shocking, but he was in that, there was always that potential, sad to say.
yeah,
Yeah, so I wonder if that played into, and then I think, and I don't know that this is necessarily universal. I just think of my mom, and when you are a mother, and I'm not, you're about to be, there's a different gear that kicks in when it comes to protecting your offspring, you know? And I imagine that that's also had to have influenced her to say like, "Hey, you go where you need to go right now." But yeah, it's so
yeah,
strong, so strong.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I've talked to my sister a lot about. She had her first kid 2 years ago.
Mhm.
I think first and only. She's sticking with one.
That's a lot.
But
So just,
yeah, I've talked to her a lot, and she said, basically just be prepared to constantly be thinking of this little person, and no matter what, it's like you're going to do whatever they need to basically, get through life in a healthy, positive way.
yeah, yeah. No, I mean, my mom has 5 kids, and she's a legend. She's such a powerful mom. She's been through so many challenges, and she's just absolutely incredible. And I'll tell you, and we're all like, I'm 42, my sister's 6 years older than me, and then my brother's trail like a year behind. So we're adults. But I think when you grow up in like a pack, at least in my tribe of siblings, it's almost like you never grow up, because you don't allow each other to.
Yeah.
But my mom does have these kids who are like in their, 40s and late 30s. And yet man, like still to the, like, she'll answer the phone even though she can't talk, but it's like, I'm like, Mom, just don't answer the phone. But it's like that need to always be there, and it's healthy and it's beautiful, but it's so that need to always be there is so, it just dominates her life, and it has, for all of my life. And so I think your sister's so spot on. I imagine that I would be that way if I was having a baby too, because how could you not? It's your little thing.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm already that way, and I'm still pregnant. I can't even imagine
Yeah.
like once she's here.
Oh my God. And she's already running with you.
Yeah,
That's so cool.
yeah.
You actually, were you going to say something?
No.
I want to actually segue into a quote from where we just were that I love so much. But you're talking about like again after running again after having a baby, and you said, "I've never looked at a child as a barrier to travel or to compete." I love that, and I would love for you to expand on that, because obviously, look, you becoming a mom, like anybody becoming a parent, your life changes, and it's gnarly. Like it's beautiful gnarly, right? California gnarly. But you have to, there's a lot of adjustment. My um two of my brothers have a baby, one of which had in January, which is like, having a baby through COVID is a whole nother obstacle course. And then my sister has my nephew, who's already 6 years old. But just witnessing, being an auntie and witnessing how my siblings have had to adjust their lives in becoming a parent, it's incredible. It's a powerful thing to witness. And then I'll say this too, like going back to my best girl, Carrie, who is an Olympian, who was literally pregnant with her daughter in the London Games, and but like she
Well,
keeps on keeping on. She's going to Tokyo next year, And I love that quote so much, because I also believe that, yes, while it's going to be a challenge, you have to be more organized and more disciplined and all the things. Um, it's not something, I don't see it as something that will stop you, but I would love for you to expand on that, and like your vision of, your life essentially with your baby here, and then moving forward with your running career.
yeah. So, I mean, I think a big part of that is having the support of like a good partner, which, I obviously have. And I mean, I think it's really easy to just realize that, well, things are hard and I'm just not going to try to do that anymore. But I think, I mean, life is hard no matter what. So you kind of just choose like where are you going to put your efforts? What are you going to choose to be hard? Because if we keep trying to live, I mean, we're just living our lives. Like we love to travel and compete and run, and Justin competes in running also, and has so much potential as a trail runner, and like he's just starting, and I'm super young to be in this sport, and we're just trying to keep living our lives just like everyone else is doing, and that's all it is. It just happens to be a little non-traditional. So I look at it as more as being really excited to show her how life can be, and traveling the world and learning about different cultures, and not just socializing her and just
Mhm.
getting her to see this other norm, and that you can basically do whatever you want to do and be what you want to be. And if we sat at home and stopped traveling, life would still be hard.
Right.
Like we're gonna have a child, so
Right.
like you said, like it's definitely going to change,
Hmm.
and it will definitely be more challenging than doing things just purely worrying about ourselves. But if we try to travel around competing, like it's going to be hard, and if we sit at home, it's going to be hard. So I'd just rather put my efforts into the things that we've been doing and how we like to live our life, and that's where our hard will be.
I love that. Yeah, no, it's so good. It's like, you can't avoid the hard. You just have to be selective about where you're going to be investing and how you're going to be investing in the hard, right? To make it a life that you want to be living. I love that. No avoidance.
Yeah, for sure.
I love that so much. Okay, so I have two things that I like to do before I close out the conversation. But before I even go there, um, is there anything that we haven't spoke about that you wish you were asked more, or you want to essentially live in this amazing conversation?
Um, well, we went over a lot of stuff.
Yeah, no pressure.
I feel like we've talked about a lot of stuff, but I do like I love I don't just run, so I coach people too, and I get a lot of questions on like how people get into running, and um, a lot of beginners and people don't really know where to start. And I think I like coaching those people the most. And so, like, even if they want to just contact me and ask me some questions, or are interested in learning more about running and how maybe it could help them through some things, then I'm always open for that.
I love that. No, this is great because I'll make sure that, your website, everything is in the show notes so people can turn to you and then obviously on your Instagram and DM you. But yeah, I think that's such a beautiful thing to leave in this conversation because there are running, to have like an accountability partner and someone who can essentially guide you and just kind of get you off the ground with it, I think is so, so valuable, especially if I mean, people can come at you from all different kinds of experiences. Maybe people are running races but if like example, the person who is just getting started and, needs to develop the habit and the training and learn about recovery, which we didn't even talk about, but I imagine, I mean, you have to have very strong recovery skills to be able to do what you do. Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. So I always tell people the training breaks you down and the recovery builds you up. Like that's how you get stronger. So you can't slack on that.
Mm-mm.
So that's super important. But yeah, I think like I mentioned earlier, like a lot of times when people are thinking of running or trying something new, it seems so overwhelming.
Yeah.
And you're just thinking like, well, I know nothing about running. These people run for hours and hours and I don't even run a step, or, just thinking of a beginner. And it seems to help like the new people getting into it to really break it down
Yeah.
and have that guidance of, just go jog for 5 minutes even,
Yeah.
starting so small that, well, I can run 5 minutes, everyone knows they can run 5 minutes. And just starting it there seems like a much easier way to get into it and helps people kind of relax and, realize what they can do.
Yeah. I love that. Okay. Thank you. I'm so glad that you put that in here. Okay. So, to, before I get to my rapid words, I love asking my guests if you had a magic wand and you can give with this magic wand the masses one positive habit that would have a large ripple effect on the rest of their life. So anything psychological, it could be, run anything. What would that be and why?
Well, very simple. I think just to smile more and be kind, like to everyone, because you never, like, if you think about it, it seems so simple and easy, but it doesn't always happen. You walk around the streets or whatever, and it's a little weird in mask times during COVID,
Yeah.
but you can smile with your eyes.
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking that.
But even if you think about like if you walk past someone and they smile at you, you're not going to be in a bad mood, you
Mm,
know? And it just helped. Like, you never know what people are going through.
yeah.
And sometimes, like, even just, I think about my brother, like, even if someone would just be nice to him
Yeah.
that day, like, he just felt so much better. Like, he'd
Mhm.
mention it to me usually. And so, I mean, you have no idea what kind of impact that you make on someone. And if you're smiling, it's always going to be positive, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And that can't, you can't go wrong with that.
No, I love that. I mean, even if you try and force a smile on yourself. Like it does evoke an emotion, whether, you know, you like it or not, like it does, it evokes an emotion. And I love that about, you truly don't know what people are going through. I can't remember who I was talking to. I talk a lot, you know, coaching, podcasting. But you know, somebody gave the example of like, just think about even just in your family, all the things that, you know, your family is going through in their individual lives, right? So then imagine like just externally, like everybody is going through some things or some things, especially in this year. So I love that. I love that habit, just to smile and be kind more, because I think that there's so much value in that. You just feel better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially this year. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, all years, but like this year's just hard for everyone.
No, it really is. It is like, I feel like it's the year of resilience, like testing your strength and testing your resilience, right? I mean, we're still in it. Like we're like,
Yeah. We might be in it for a little bit longer.
I
So,
know. I feel like I was just talking about this trip right yesterday, but I was like, you know, I feel like one of the kind of silver linings of this year has been a lot of people have become more comfortable with this. I don't know what's happening next, but I'm not going to be surprised. Aliens show up in my backyard. Yeah, 2020. like
yeah.
it's all like we're so, and that's, I think that's an important thing for life, because truly we're always living in uncertainty and you really don't know what's coming next. So to have that sort of a little bit of comfort in that state, I think is really, really valuable for life, period.
Yeah, for sure. I do think, I mean, there are some positives out of it. I mean,
Oh
there's
yeah.
like, there's that, and then just appreciating, it seems like everyone kind of appreciates what they do have, and the more simple things in life. Like,
Yeah.
I've noticed that from most people.
Yeah. No, you're right. I mean, just to be able to go have dinner with a friend, which was like, you know, lovely before, but now it's like, oh my gosh, I'm just so happy to be in person with you, and, you know, just
Yeah.
like being able to enjoy this. No, you're so right. It is the year of appreciation for sure. Yeah. So good. Okay. So I do this thing called rapid fire words. I am going to deliver a word rapid to you, but your response does not need to be rapid. I just, whatever comes top of mind, top of heart, when you take this word in, I would love for you to just share and elaborate if you would like to.
Okay.
Okay. First word is love.
Um, like a story, and not just one word answer.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I mean, go wherever you want to go. Just like when you hear
Oh.
love, what does it mean to you? What does it do for you? All of that.
Um, I feel like this is might get a little cheesy. I
No.
feel like I used to know what that word meant, and I really didn't until I met. I mean, of course, like my parents and stuff, but love as far as like finding like a life partner and stuff. Like I didn't really know what that meant or how that felt until I met Justin, and it's been a completely different feeling.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have a teammate, like a real teammate, right? And that's a different feeling than just dating someone, or, you know, it's like a partnership, a collaboration.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. And it's like a completely different feeling in your heart.
Yeah. Yeah, I
So
love that. Okay, I love that. Next word is fear.
mm, so I actually have fearless tattooed on my wrist here.
Oh, that's so pretty. I love
Thanks.
it.
Um and I've had people say, well, maybe, being fearless isn't necessarily like you don't have to be fearless to go through life. And I totally agree. Like fear is something that is a part of life that you have to face. But being fearless to me is having that fear and approaching it anyways, and getting through it, and challenging yourself to overcome it.
Yeah, facing it.
Yeah.
I love it. So good. Next word is curiosity.
Oh, curiosity. Well, I feel like curiosity is what has gotten me where it has with running. Just to know, growing up in this tiny town, Sweet Home, Oregon, just for some reason I knew there was more, like in small towns, I think people kind of get in their little bubble, and which I totally understand makes sense to people if that's like all they ever knew. But it was like, there's got to be more. There's got to be more. Like, and I just wanted to go see the world and meet new people and learn different cultures and all this stuff. And in kind of a accidental way, running has been what's gotten me to be able to do that.
I love it. So good. So good. Okay. Next word, courage.
Well, I think it kind of goes along with the fear and fearless in a way, because like things aren't always easy. And like we said, life is hard. Like everything's hard, no matter who you are or what you do. Like you're going to go through hard things. And a courageous person to me, like sees the hard things and faces the fear, knowing it's not going to be easy, and but it's going to be worth working through and going through these things to have a better life and be a better person. And
yeah, solid. Passion.
Well, I feel like I'm a very passionate person. You can probably guess it's very much so about running. And I think that there's the potential, like everyone has some sort of potential, and whether or not that they explore that potential is a different story, but everyone has potential with something. And if you have a passion, if you're truly passionate about something, like you got to at least try it, like go for it, because it's so, I think if you put the work into it and really explore it, something good is going to come out of it. And it just makes life so much more meaningful. Like if you have this passion that you can really spend quality time like doing and exploring, and it may not be like your full-time job, but it just makes everything so much better, and kind of have your own, like your thing that's yours,
Yeah. Just so much more fulfillment, right? Because you're
yeah.
No, meaning. I love that. Okay. Just a few more. Challenge.
Challenge. Well, I've been through a lot of challenges. I'd say, some harder than others, like obviously losing my brother. That's probably the hardest. And then the eating disorder when I was young, and I've been married and divorced when I was very young. And it, going through those makes it's really interesting, because it makes other things in life not that maybe other people without those experiences would think of as a challenge. And it's just like, meh, doesn't matter. Right. It's, like so little compared to what I've already been through. So those challenges, although they're really hard and not like the ideal thing to happen, they also, you can learn from them instead of just feeling like you're constantly attacked somehow. You can learn from them and use them to get through life in other ways and work through other things.
Yeah, leverage them. I love that. Yeah. So good. Okay, 2 more. Resilience.
Resilience.
You're like me.
Um, yeah, I mean, so many of these things go together. Like, all of those things help you be more resilient, and just keep fighting, getting through things, and like nothing's going to break you down.
That's so good. I feel like that's like a song or something. I don't know. It makes me think of Rocky and the tiger. It's so good.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay. The final word, one of my favorite words, excellence.
Well, I think that's like you kind of define that yourself, it doesn't mean the same thing. Like there's not a direct little list of like how to be excellent that you check off. Although I think some people try to strive for that initially, and it's why things are so frustrating. But I think, you can be excellent or have excellence in your life in whatever way you see that being, for me, it ended up being able to live out my passion and, travel the world and meet new people. And I feel like that's a very fulfilling and excellent life. And for someone else, it might not be. It might be having 5 kids and a great partner and just like focusing on your children. And that's excellent too. And so I think everyone, like no one should be comparing themselves to other people. It's more that what are you like hoping to do and get out of life? And are you achieving that? And that would be excellence.
So good. It's one of my favorite words to throw at all my different guests, just because it's an interesting one. It isn't like how to be excellent,
Yeah.
It's a really creative process. It's expressed from every, individual guest, but I can't help but say this too. Like, did you ever see Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure?
No, I haven't.
Oh, because 80s. Yeah, it just came to me. It's funny that this is the first time that's really coming to me. Like, be excellent to each other. It's like classic 80s. Actually, it was the 90s, early 90s, but yeah, my time period. But anyways, Amanda, thank you so much, girl. You are amazing. You're a joy. Your energy is so beautiful and such a contribution to the world. And I'm excited for you to bring out your little girl in the world and then continue kicking butt in your races. And just thank you for carving out time and really being vulnerable and sharing everything that you've shared here in this episode.
Yeah, of course. It's been fun. It's been great to talk to you. And I'm an open book. Sometimes I think maybe that's too much information, but I think it seems to help. So
yeah, definitely not in this space. Everything is just, it's so, because it really does help people who are taking it. And even just, there's like, it's interesting because when people in specifics to like the hard things, when you hear somebody else's challenges, it does help you go through your challenge, right? Somehow, so I know this a lot to be true in my coaching, my group coaching experiences with the women that I coach. It's like, man, everyone's living a different life, but everybody's life has these challenges. And then to hear how they are processing the hards, it supports each other as well as the highs, like experiencing your joy in this conversation and how you are creating this excellent life that's fulfilling is also super inspiring. So thank you. And, I'd mentioned that all of your information will be in the show notes, but you want to give a shout out to your Instagram? I feel like that's where you are the most in social.
Yeah, for sure. That's definitely where I'm at the most. And, we'll try to reply to everyone's messages and things. And it's super easy. It's just at Amanda_Basham. So I'm easy to find.
Perfect. And all coaching information will be there. So amazing, girl. Thank you so, so much.
Yeah, no problem. It was fun.